Someone you love is going to die. You already know this. And when it happens, you will stand over them and you will not know what to do with your hands. You will not know what to say. You will feel an urge you cannot name to do something, to mark the moment, to make it mean something. That urge is not weakness. It is not culture. It is not religion. It is something far older than any of those things. It is written into you at a depth that predates language itself. The question is, where did it come from? You think of death rituals as a modern invention. Funerals, eulogies, flowers, candlelit vigils, something civilization gave you. Something your particular culture handed down. But here is what the fossil record has been quietly whispering for decades. Your ancestors were burying their dead long before they had cities, long before they had writing, long before they had pottery or agriculture or any of the things we call civilization. The ritual came first. The culture came after. Go back 300,000 years. You are standing at the edge of a cave in what will one day be called Morocco. A group of humans, your direct ancestors, has gathered around a body. They have arranged it carefully, deliberately. They have placed ochre around the remains. Red ochre, iron-rich pigment they had to travel to find, grind, and carry. This was not convenience. This was effort. This was intention. This was the first known human burial, and it happened before Homo sapiens had even fully emerged as a species. Anthropologist Paul Pettitt has spent decades studying what he calls the mortuary landscape of early humans. His research tracks the emergence of what he terms structured deposition, the deliberate, careful placement of human remains in a way that suggests the body still mattered after the breath left it. This is not unique to modern humans. Neanderthals, a separate species entirely, were also doing it. They were placing the dead in pits, in caves, sometimes surrounded by animal bones and tools. They were, by every measurable definition, grieving. That stops most people cold. Because if Neanderthals, a species that split from our lineage over 500,000 years ago, were performing something like burial, then the instinct to honor the dead did not come from your religion. It did not come from your civilization. It came from somewhere far deeper in the evolutionary tree. It came from the same place your heartbeat comes from. But why? Why would evolution select for this? What possible survival advantage does burying the dead provide? The answer is not what you expect. For a long time, the dominant theory was practical. Bury the dead to prevent disease, cover the body to keep away predators, keep the campsite clean. But paleoanthropologist Francesco and his colleagues have largely dismantled this theory. The burials they study are not hasty. They are not efficient. They involve travel, effort, ceremony, and ornamentation. Ancient humans were not just disposing of bodies, they were doing something to the living. Think about what a death does to a group. Imagine a band of 30 people on a landscape that is trying to kill them. One of them dies. Not just anyone. A hunter who knew where the water was in dry season. A woman who knew which plants were safe. A keeper of information. The death of one person in a group that small is not just emotional, it is existential. The group has lost a piece of its collective brain, and the surviving members are watching, and they are terrified because they understand, without words, at a cellular level, that they are next. Researcher Tom Wynn, a cognitive archaeologist at the University of Colorado, argues that what you see in early burial sites is not just grief management. It is social technology. The ritual of death is, in its earliest form, a way of holding a group together precisely at the moment it is most likely to fall apart. The ceremony gives the living something to do. It gives them a shared experience. It gives them a story. And that story, that collective act of meaning-making, is what kept the group coherent when coherence was the difference between survival and extinction. Your brain inherited that technology. When you feel the need to gather people together after a loss, when you feel the need to tell stories about the person who is gone, when you feel the compulsion to do something physical, hold something, light something, put something in the ground, you are running an ancient survival program. You are not being sentimental, you are being exactly what evolution built you to be. Now go deeper. Go back to a site in South Africa called Pinnacle Point, roughly 160,000 years ago. Here, evidence suggests early humans were using red ochre in ways that researchers now link to ritual behavior. Pigment applied to bodies, to tools, possibly to living skin. The color red appears again and again in the earliest human symbolic behavior, not because it was pretty, because it looked like blood, because blood meant life, and life meant everything, and the line between the living and the dead was the most important line your ancestors ever had to understand. When you see red flowers at a funeral today, something in you responds. You probably think it is convention, but the convention is 160,000 years old. And then there is the talking to the dead. In a 2020 study published in the journal Evolutionary Human Sciences, researchers documented a pattern found across virtually every culture ever studied. Humans talk to the dead, not metaphorically, literally, standing over a grave, lying in bed in the dark, sitting at a kitchen table in the months after a loss. They speak out loud to someone who cannot hear them, and they feel, most of them, that something is received. This is not delusion. This is not pathology. This is one of the oldest behaviors in the human behavioral repertoire. The theory is this: your brain did not evolve to process permanent absence. For most of human history, if someone disappeared, they came back. They went out to hunt and returned. They wandered off and returned. The concept of forever gone, the irreversibility of death, is cognitively unnatural to you. Your social brain, the part of your mind that tracks relationships and simulates other people's thoughts, does not have an off switch. It keeps running the simulation. It keeps modeling the person who is gone. And sometimes, in moments of grief, it speaks to them, because that is what it was built to do. You are not losing your mind when you talk to the dead. You are doing exactly what your ancestors did in the cave. You are maintaining the relationship because your brain cannot conceive of ending it. Here is what this means for you right now. Every ritual you perform around death, every flower placed, every candle lit, every story told, every grave visited on an anniversary is not superstition. It is not weakness. It is a technology developed over hundreds of thousands of years by the minds of people who had nothing but each other and who understood, without being able to articulate it, that when one of them was gone, the rest of them needed something to hold on to. They built the ritual. They passed it to their children, and their children passed it to theirs. And it traveled, unbroken, through every generation between them and you. The reason you do not know what to do with your hands when someone you love dies is that you are reaching for something your hands have always reached for. Something real, something true, something older than any god, any language, any civilization. The ancient humans who painted their dead in red, who placed them carefully in the earth, who sat in the mouth of the cave and spoke into the dark, they were not primitive. They were not performing empty superstition. They were the first people to ask the question every human being eventually asks, and they answered it the only way available to them, with presence, with action, with the decision that the person who died still mattered. Tonight, if you think about someone you have lost, you might find yourself talking to them without planning to. You might feel the urge to go somewhere, to hold something, to do something that makes no rational sense. Do not dismiss that urge. It is not irrational. It is the oldest rational response in the human story. It is what kept your ancestors from falling apart when the darkness pressed in and one of them was gone. It is what holds you together now. And it began in the red-stained hands of someone just like you, hundreds of thousands of years before anyone had a word for love.